you'll meet guys who get in those cars just to get ahead, just to get accepted, just to get invited, just to have access to certain things that they would not get without the car. And I hear those stories all the time.
Usually not in the dominant position in the car world, sadly, because even displaying at SEMA car show, women would always be the models that would accompany the car.
It's not necessarily our world. And when I first joined, I think one of my ideas was to bring more females to cars. But then I realized it's the interest. It's not something, I can bring. It's either you like it or not.
What's up, everybody? Simon here on this episode of the Ideal Hour podcast. I have Veronica Baravik. I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
Oh my God, you're the first one. Yes.
Where do I win?
Well, you know what? Next time, I guess we're just going to be having fun in supercars together.
Yes. I love that. You'll give me a supercar ride. And Veronica is founder of the Veronica Baravik brand. She also takes videos and goes over supercars, hypercars, and has a passion for creating content around supercars and hypercars. And we're going to talk to her about her passion, how she does it, how she gets attention on social media, as well as some of the coolest cars she's been in. Because as a supercar lover, I had my experiences, but I'm sure they're not as good as her. So Veronica, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to share my journey, to share my craziness, and to share my passion. I know we had like a few seconds right before we started, press start, and you already I think you got a taste of what you're about to deal with.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I usually bring a lot of energy. That's, I think, one thing that people usually feel about me, and I'm much more fun in person than I'm over the phone or even on pictures from what I hear.
I like your energy already. And just before we started filming, Veronica had a spoon in her hand and a pen. So I said, what's the spoon for? Obviously the pen for notes. And she's like, it's for my Nutella.
I'm a sweet tooth. This is one of my sins. Basically, I only break two laws. I speed and I eat sweets.
Both S's.
Yes.
We also talked a little bit about that beautiful painting behind you. I was expecting a Ferrari, but this is a self-portrait.
What it's actually, it's funny. I'm currently in process of actually building my studio, building my office. So this is a temporary solution. I'm literally sitting on my dining table, and the painting behind me is a painting of me.
Love it.
Yes, I'm not in love with myself. I have maybe 3 or 4 more paintings like of this size in my house. This is how my friends see me. They gift me those things. And now I'm joking, I don't have enough walls to put all those things. We're going to be, I don't know if I should adjust areas so you can see my face, or maybe
we could see it. It's beautiful. You have some people love feet. You know what it is?
Yes, it's another money-making area that a lot of people are really very successful with.
Oh, yes. Not me personally, but a lot of people. Let me ask you, Veronica, why supercars? Why passion in automotive? Obviously, there's quite a lot of people that do now supercar videos and content. Shmi, you got Supercar Blondie, you got some other people out there. Why supercars, and give us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think my passion started when I was a kid. I grew up as a tomboy. I grew up surrounded by boys, and I was playing with cars. I was playing with those small models. A lot of us, I think maybe you did the same, so you can relate. I grew up, I was pretty much one of the very, very few girls. Sometimes I would be the only girl in my and kind of my surrounding every time I would go visit my grandma. And I was always surrounded by boys. I was always influenced by my cousin and by my father. So my dad, and I was actually thinking, why do I like even cars? Like when did it start? So, I remember those times, and actually right now, it's fun to talk about it because it brings me back to those times when I was trying to come up with a hobby. And I remember I was sitting like this on my desk when I was a kid. I was like, what hobby do I want to have? Like, do I want to collect stamps? Do I want to do something do it yourself? And trust me, every time I would start something, I would like, boring, like I would drop it in the middle of it because I wasn't hooked. So, and I think the car piece came in very handy. My dad had a little business when he would go. It's all like, I grew up, you can tell by my accent, I'm not local to US. I speak Russian, that's my first language. And I grew up right in the 90s when everything was shifting, right after the collapse of Soviet Union. And my dad had a small business. He would go to Germany and he would buy cars. Then he would bring them to Belarus and he would sell them for profit. So basically kind of, like little dealer, like
international car dealer.
Exactly. I like that name, national car dealer. And every time I would have a new car waiting for me to drop me off at school. So I was one of those lucky kids who occasionally would get a ride to school. Usually we would walk.
By the way, that's a profitable, or was, or is, I don't know, but that's a pretty profitable business. I know cars in China, for example, if you ship a G-Wagon to China, they're valued three times more if you could get around the customs. So he would he send exotic cars or pretty much?
No. No exotics. Those were just regular cars. A lot of times those would be the cars that here you send to scrap yards, would fix them and they would sell and resell. So no, there was nothing exotic about it. But I think I kind of used to having that lifestyle and being around boys all the time, being around cars. I remember myself sitting on the lap, steering, and my dad would take me to some small roads where they were going to like the forest. Again, like you need to a little bit understand the lifestyle there. So it was always exciting, it was always exciting. And cars were always part of my life. And I wasn't really paying attention to that. But later in life, what happened, what I've noticed is every time I would see a supercar passing by, I have this like, oh my God, what is this? And every time I would have it, I was like, okay, so there's something going on. And I realized, well, I like cars. They excite me. Every time I see a car, I have those butterflies in my stomach. So I started going to car shows. I started learning. I even remember, right now it's getting better. But I used to be so intimidated by cars. I would go and I would be afraid to even look. So never, ever, ever touch the car unless you have explicit permission from the driver, owner, whoever. This is very disrespectful. And a lot of times people don't understand that, they have, like super expensive paying job. This is something I like to teach because car people, they understand it. But a lot of times if you go to formats where, families come in and you see, we see a lot of stuff online laying on a car. Unless this is your car or you have explicit permission to do so, never ever do it, even if it's rental. You have no idea how much damage you can bring in. And even right now, a lot of times I will take pictures on cars, I'll do stuff. And we usually joke every time, and maybe if you've seen my pages or so, I wear a lot of leather. I wear a lot of things that doesn't have any zippers, doesn't have anything that can potentially scratch things. I even don't wear any jewelry. Well, my nails, that's my signature, by the way. I don't wear any jewelries because every time if you want to open the car and navigate nails, that's not a problem. But you can scratch car with, like rings or anything that you're wearing here. So I'm very cautious. I'm very, like self-aware. And I have a lot of respect for my car drivers and guys because they understand it. I know it. But a lot of times people don't. So, okay, going back to the cars, right? So how I started. And I think like when I started going to car shows, yes, I had this car struck, I would say. You look at things and you're just afraid to look at them. It's like, oh my gosh, this is phenomenal. But I think like later on, when I was more involved and I realized, okay, so the best way for me to join different clubs, to join different groups, it's still a challenge. Don't get me wrong, it's still a challenge. But people have more appreciation for you when they understand you there for cars. I don't
Yeah,
look
so
like I'm someone, if I'm going to a car with my hair, with everything, that I'm really there for the cars.
It's a community. I mean, the car community is a very big community. They're not.
It is. It's
there,
still, it's very male dominated.
It is.
It's not easy. It's not easy for females to be in the car world. Yes, that there I said it. The reason I started working for car shows, I started like organizing my own things because I wasn't accepted. I was
Mhm.
not invited. And I'm still not accepted at many things. I'm still not invited at many, like too many. It's still, and I'll tell you this. Recently I had conversation with female collectors
Mhm.
with multiple phenomenal cars in their collection. And we had a conversation when we did a little interview, and I put the camera down and I asked, do you feel accepted? And both of them were like, nope, yeah, because we're female. But again, I think it depends. I think it depends how it is, but it's not easy. I know challenges race car women face, race car drivers, collectors. It's not necessarily our world. And when I first joined, I think one of my ideas was to bring more females to cars. But then I realized it's the interest. It's not something, I can bring. It's either you like it or not. A lot of times my girlfriend's like, oh, it's nice to take a picture in the car. Can I do this? And some say, I don't care. I don't care about the car. And sometimes like we have those conversations when my girls would say, oh, I hate my husband's Ferrari. I can't sit in this car. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, it's something you either like it or you don't, and it's okay, and I think like the guys who have their girlfriends who love cars, and if they car heads, it's somewhat, it's a blessing. There's even this meme going and saying that she's a keeper if she knows how to open the door or what to do with it. And so things like that.
I love that. I wanted to tell you, I agree with you. Women are usually not in the dominant position in the car world, sadly, because even displaying at SEMA car show, women would always be the models that would accompany the car. Not necessarily someone that would break the mold and describe the car or know more about the car. So I'm glad you and other women out there are taking control of that, because an exotic car or a hypercar is like an exotic piece of jewelry or an exotic like a Birkin bag or something of this level that's so prestigious. Obviously it's even more intricate, but it's just like a Rolex or a Patek Philippe watch. You could really go into details of it, what type of movements and
I look at cars as an accessory, as a beautiful art. It's I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and we're talking about purses, and I was like, I should probably buy myself like an expensive purse or something. And we're also talking about cars, and he's like, what difference does it make which purse you have if you're driving a Ferrari? Like, or if you're getting out of a Lamborghini? Who cares?
Well, not only that, I think you also could join groups of very successful people, right? If you have an exotic car, you could be part of several car clubs where everybody has maybe a high net worth, or not everybody, but there are some successful people in these groups. You get a nice bag and you wear it once to dinner. Yes, it's nice to have, and you probably should have both. I never say choose one or the other. But with a car club, you can meet people, you can network, you can do things that are.
I'll tell you this, from what I see, there are different types of people who drive supercars. And I'm not going to go into all details. You might meet different types of people there, and you might meet true collectors, true enthusiasts. And you'll meet also guys, and I'll say guys because it's mainly guys. It's like 99.9% guys. You'll meet guys who get in those cars just to get ahead, just to get accepted, just to get invited, just to have access to certain things that they would not get without the car. And I hear those stories all the time that like the person, literally we recently had this discussion, like, do you wear a suit, for example? Like, are you supposed to wear a suit? And the guy was sharing that he would go to marketing events, like networking events, where there's going to be like a bunch of different business people, and he'll wear his comfy, pants, he'll wear his comfy hoodie, whatever he does on a daily basis, and nobody wants to talk to him. Nobody approaches him. But the moment he leaves the networking event and he approaches his car, which is a Ferrari, immediately everybody starts like running and wants to talk to him, like how he got into what he was doing. So car, a lot of times it's an attention grabber for the business and for your network. And a lot of times, yes, you see people buy those cars and maybe they even hate them, have them just so they have access. It's a status thing in a sense.
I agree. It's a status symbol. It's a success, gives you into this car club, and it draws attention. If you're single, it helps.
Absolutely. Listen, a lot of times, it's a joke, but a lot of times cars don't attract girls. They attract dudes.
Other guys asking you.
Other guys.
That's probably not their intention, but I'm sure you're right, because they're like, oh my God, is that a 588 or a Pista? Now let's big question. Are you team Ferrari, team Lamborghini, or both have their place?
I think both have their place in my heart. And truly, people usually ask me, what's your favorite car? What's the car of your dreams? I don't think it's a car of my dreams, but that's the car that I would like to have as my daily. That's going to be a Ferrari. That's going to be a 458 Ferrari Spider. It needs to be something bright. I don't recognize black cars at all. Somebody wants to gift me one, I'll take it. I'll wrap it.
So no black Ferraris. That's a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, Ferrari is a Ferrari, but with black cars, usually you're losing a lot of elements. Those cars, they're a form of art. It's not just the engine. It's the art. It's the details. It's those small elements. Black color eats it all. You don't see it. It just, and I usually joke. I say, they can hear you, but they cannot see you on the road because you kind of go like really low. It's very dark, and especially when it gets dark, you can't. It's somewhat dangerous. But again, like you're losing a lot of presence of the car, a lot of those lines and slick details in black. But I do like Ferraris. Yes, I'm definitely team Ferrari, but I'm also team Lamborghini. I don't want to say that I'm really, really enjoying the modern Lamborghinis. If I had to choose, I would go to 80s, 90s. And that's Countach, Diablo, Murcielago. Those are my guys, and I absolutely love it. So they call it like vintage supercar cars.
And they're even harder to get now. I mean, I don't see them as much.
They're skyrocketing now. Yeah. It's insane. So there are certain shops around US, and I know like a few ones in Miami that actually specialize just on those cars. Like they find them, and yes, I mean, if you look at some numbers are totally insane these days.
Are you in Miami or area or?
I am. I spend a lot of time in Miami, but I am in Atlanta. I'm Atlanta based.
Very well. Yeah, Miami has a crazy car scene, and I feel like you can drive your car and be safe driving an exotic or a hypercar versus, say, the Bay Area where we are, San Francisco area. There's been attacks where people jumping on cars. You've probably seen that.
Really?
They don't respect things. Not only not touching it, they may damage it, and it's kind of weird.
Oh wow!
So I think in this area,
become in London in some sense.
Yeah. Well, London also has a car scene, though. But
it has like I've seen a lot of challenges. I've seen a lot of videos where actually people would be damaging cars. It's a big problem. Yeah. Well, but Bay Area, listen, you guys very conservative. You're very conservative. There is California, and then there's Bay Area.
We're in a different egg basket. All right. What about some of your favorite Ferraris? What models would you say really you would go, wow, I want to review this. I want to sit in it, or I love this model of Ferraris. What are your tops?
I'm still learning a lot about cars, and lately I became, I don't want to say I became obsessed, but you can say obsessed in learning history, in learning kind of going into the vintage stuff. So I don't really understand a lot of it yet. If there are a lot of Ferraris that I look at, I know it's a Ferrari. I just have no idea what kind of Ferrari that is. And so it takes me, and a lot of times that's what I do. When I go to car shows, I go to events, as much as I can, I take pictures. If there is a name for the car, I take a picture of it as well. And I go home and I research. Like, for example, one of the things which I'm like, beat myself for that. So the most recent event I was in Miami. It was Moda Miami. Beautiful venue, beautiful event. And I spent there 2 days. Again, like for me, it was layover. I just came from Switzerland from another show. So it's just, cars, things, and I'm literally crashing. And I remember I saw the car kind of like further down, which I couldn't tell what it was. First, I was like, is it Mura or maybe not? So it kind of had like interesting shape. But I was too lazy to get closer to the car. I was sitting and I was kind of like getting closer to the stage, and cars were pulling into the stage to get the awards. And this car was driving, and I was like, oh, that's a beautiful car. And I'm realizing it's not a Lamborghini. It was actually a Ferrari. I was like, oh, cool. I don't know what that is, but let me take a picture or video. So I actually posted it even on my Instagram. So I'm taking the video of that car. She passes by and I see it's a 3-seater. And I'm like, that's really cool. So I asked the driver, like, what is this car? Briefly, just, what is this car? So I can remember. And he tells me, well, this is like 1966, 365 P. I was like, okay, cool. So I did this, like little video, didn't even film it inside, just nothing. So the car passed by. I go home. I was like, okay, so what is this car? I pull it up. I was like, holy moly, built. And that was actually the first car that Ferrari built, not for racing. It was all, that was the first like commercially built car, so he can sell, because that's how Enzo Ferrari sponsored his racing. He was a race guy, so he could probably, if he could sell his soul probably.
Have you seen an Enzo up front or in person? I'm sure at some of these car shows.
Car? Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. At this point, like if we're not gonna go into vintage, even with vintage and stuff, I think I've seen it all. So I think that 365, it's a very rare car. It's only 2 in existence.
How do you get these people aside from car shows? Do you ever reach out to, maybe someone wants to take photography of exotic cars, etc. Do you reach out to these owners of these exotic cars and go, hey?
Sometimes I do. It's not easy. I'll tell you this, it's not easy, and even though people tell me, oh, because you're female, it's much easier for me. No, it's actually more challenging for me. Wow. Because a lot of times there is not much trust. And I understand it, I get it. There are not too many girls into cars, and there are certain, like theories why girls would be around cars. I mean, it's nothing bad with it. Some might go to car shows to shop for rich husbands, which is perfectly fine. Listen, I mean, like, there are different ways how you meet people.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, hey, if I was looking for a husband, why not have a rich husband that treats you well?
Basically, you go where they aggregate. There's nothing wrong with that, but there is certain kind of behavior that a lot of times hurts people like me. Into cars, I really like cars. I used to say, like, I love cars, I hate the drivers.
Thinking you're coming in from a completely different agenda versus seeing the car.
But it still takes time. It still takes time. Not everyone is comfortable with me. There are, and I mean, it's reality. There are girls, girlfriends, there are wives. And not everyone's going to be comfortable with another blonde, like I still have some of my friends who will say, oh yeah, my wife constantly asks me, like, why is she sitting in your car? And he had to say, like, just relax. She doesn't care about me. She just loves the car.
Are you dating presently?
I'm single. I'm not dating.
I think that's going to help. Once you get hitched up, you could ask somebody, say, no.
This was... You literally looking into this. So that's one of the things that has not been helping me lately. And I was like, yes, I need just to find, I don't know, maybe to find even like a fake boyfriend or something. One of the ideas was for me to go lesbian.
Okay. Oh, like a just to get in to see the car.
Yes, just to scratch it off, even a gender, just like okay, we're not good. I mean, like, not interested at all.
Not interested in your man. I just want to see the F40.
Yeah, I
And
just like the fun stories with it. I mean, it's reality. I don't blame them because I've seen what girls do. I mean, I don't blame them. But sometimes, yeah, I'll have situations where, like, I have to become, and I try to do that. I try to be very respectful. I try to become friends with spouses or wives or girlfriends and kind of show them, well, there is no threat here. We're perfectly cool here. But yes, I'll have instances where, for example, one of my friends is inviting me to visit someone's collection, and I'll have a note. I'll like, like, dress down, like don't, because like the wife is jealous or the girlfriend is crazy. So just, and I was like, and I want nice pictures, and I look like slob next to this car. I'm trying to dress down or kind of look.
you don't want to be the white dress at a wedding to draw the negative attention.
Exactly.
But then when you take the
Exactly.
photo, you want to look great, but you dress down. So it's like it's not fair to you.
Exactly. And it's just like, it's one of the challenges. It's one of the challenges. Yes, sometimes, don't get me wrong, sometimes, it's easy to approach someone, but because they will most likely reply to you. But to actually have something that, like, people will reach out to you or invite you, that's where it gets difficult. That's where I think, the photographers, guys, and I'll be one of very few girls, like, standing with my phone, like, filming the car, and I'm surrounded by a bunch of teenagers, like seasoned photographers. So yeah, I dress down. I usually wear very sporty stuff, like no heels, no nothing, and it's just like very limited, like kind of a sexual thing in a sense.
So when you do approach someone that does have a supercar, has there been incidences where they're assuming or they want something more from you than just
a lot of times.
a lot of the times?
Yeah.
So they're like, hey, come look, but they're pushing.
But I think it has nothing to do with cars. It's just, I think it's just like nature, like of like male and female interactions. With me, I have to say that I'm very friendly. I smile a lot. And a lot of times that perceived as a flirting versus, like, just me being crazy. Sometimes that could also be a challenge. But yes, I mean, like, I'm not denying that a lot of times there might be a lost message in a conversation, which is okay. I take it as a compliment. I mean, like, so there's nothing you can do with it.
But have you let anybody take you out to dinner that had a nice car?
No, I don't date in cargo. I don't do that. I mean, if something, like, truly happens, I find the person who really, excites me and, gets me, then yes. But I have a rule, and I
put these car guys. You've been around a lot of car guys. I saw your Instagram. There's like a beautiful Tiffany's blue Senna. There, you've probably met other car guys. Put them in categories. What are the cliches of a car guy?
cliches?
Like, what are the types?
Everything was, but again, like, I haven't checked, so I don't know everything. But I think everything which you've heard is true. So a lot of times, yes, guys might be buying some cars because they want to compensate for something, and that's out there, right? It's true, it's reality. But again, like, we, like, as women, we do like boob jobs, we do, like, enhancements, we black in like something in our lips to make them bigger. So guys buy cars, so they want to do something different. But guys buy like expensive toys, like watches or cars or whatever it is.
Guys also buy body kits for their cars too. So
you have that category, of course. Then you have guys who, well, they need a car because the most exciting part, well, it's kind of close to the first group. The most exciting part about the guy is the car they drive. So you're going to have that category as well. And that's the only conversation. If you take the car away, there is no personality, there is no substance, there is nothing there. And it could be in both ways, in good way and a bad way. Some might be just very shy, and some might not be a good quality people. And I see a lot of that. I see a lot of that. I think I'm talking right now about fakeness, this attitude, and
They're arrogant when they have
the
some.
arrogance.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
It's
I
this,
see that.
like, okay, what color is your Lamborghini? That's the attitude. That's the attitude. So you see it. With me, it's kind of interesting. I don't know whether it's my Soviet upbringing or something. I don't really care. I can literally put everyone in the place where they belong, and they know that. So I know how to talk to them a lot of, not always. Listen, they put me in my place a lot of times as well, but more or less, and I think it just depends, and different people will reply or respond differently. That second category. Then you have your true enthusiasts that are crazy about cars. It's a funny story about, like, true enthusiasts. I remember I was at a car show, and well, I don't wear it right now, but sometimes you might see in my stores, and I do some promotions as well. I wear jewelry that's made from cars. Yeah, so it's like cups made from Lamborghinis, Ferraris. It's a crash jewelry piece that's they actually out of California, out of LA. I remember when I first met them, I met them at a car show, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love that, like that bracelet. I really want it. And at that time, it was slightly, it wasn't a good time for me. Well, when is ever, right? And I didn't want to spend money on it. And I chose the most expensive one that I really liked. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to get like like that bracelet. I just don't know how. And I keep going, I keep going back to the tent, and the girl who's selling it, she's like, Veronica, just like, go, like, find one of the guys here, like, ask them to buy you a thing. And I was like, listen, they don't even see me. They're just looking at their cars. That's the definition of true car enthusiast. They so, like, guys, like, so crazy, and it could be women as well, not as many. They're so crazy about the cars. They know every single detail. They know the story. They know everything about everything, whether they collect or they just go there and observe. Then there are collectors, collectors who buy cars, they love cars, they love to drive them. Then you have collectors who invest in cars. I mean, cars is a good investment, and a lot of times people don't understand it's an investment. Or you buy, you can make a lot of money with it. And while there's categories of people who drive their cars, or those who sit them, and they call them garage queens. They're just money makers. They just sit there because the lower the mileage, better, the higher the price is for certain pieces. Yes, you crash something, there is no replacement. Sure. If it's a one-off, there is no way you can fix it. I mean, some you can, of course. People will do a lot of things to fix, but again, it's not something you go, you order on eBay and you fix it.
Yeah, definitely. Your regular body shop's not working on a very rare car.
Oh yeah.
What if you could? You mentioned collectors, and there are obviously those that will park their cars and never drive, or maybe put 3 miles a year on them. And then there's others. If you could see anybody's collection out there, or anyone that may have a collection, Jay Leno, which is more rarer cars, Ferrari collector, David Lee. There's so many. There's one in Mexico that has an incredible collection. I forgot his name. Dubai. There's in Miami.
Listen, Dubai is completely universe. They have crazy.
Yeah,
I don't think they care about cars anymore, because you can't impress anyone with cars. They care about the license plates.
Yeah, I heard about that. I read actually where their license plate costs more or something like that. Yeah. But whose car collection would you wanna see if you could?
What I realized lately, and I think that's where I'm kind of going. As far as the collection goes, I've seen so many cars. I've seen a lot. Let's put it this way. I've seen almost, you can still pull things and surprise me. A lot of times, if you go into vintage, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. I have no idea what this is. And then you kind of go into store, and it's phenomenal. So I think at this point where I am, I'm not as impressed with the collection of cars But actually, remember when I said I like the cars, I hate the drivers? Let's swap that. So not swapping, I still like the cars, but I want to learn a little bit more about the driver. And specifically stories that they can share with me about cars. And a lot of times you learn so much. And I think that's what's really interesting, because every time, they have a car, there is a story behind it. And I really, really like to meet people in the car world, whether they're collectors or just interesting individuals, just to learn from them. And it's phenomenal how rich this area is, and how that whole direction shaped the world we live today. When people look at exotic cars, all they see, and a lot of times, it's just like, a compensation for something. No. I don't see that. I see the progression. I see the history. The reason we have this car, because something else happened, or something, there was something else that was invented.
Yeah.
And I think this is fascinating. And I like learning that. And every story, like a lot of cars, they have stories. And some stories, cars can share. It's like, you probably need to close your ears. And I'm fascinated by that world. And one of the things I'm working on right now is actually just to get myself a little bit better and more knowledgeable about things. I'm trying to build a timeline of things, like from my end of the, like 19th century, and kind of move it further down and see like the progression and all the innovations and things, kind of like conversions. And a lot of times, we don't necessarily put a lot of things in, even in car stores, we don't put them in context of what was happening around.
Yeah.
Why certain things created, and the more I learn, the more fascinated I am.
I think cars have such a history in theater, in just development of society, but also in movies like James Bond's,
Don't even go into movies.
so
Listen, about movies, we can have a separate change your name, like, and we'll do it like, cars and movies. That's something considering to do. At like the role that cars play in movies.
I think you could have a self show on that. Let me ask you,
So,
with cars, since you love them so much, if you could go anywhere and take a road trip, where would you go, and which car would you take?
So there are amazing roads in Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta. Why did I say Atlanta? Well, actually, around Atlanta, we do have great roads as well. We have North Georgia mountains, famous Dragon Tail, that a lot of people come and drive. It's crazy road. I've done it in SUV. Well, on one of the rallies. It was fun. But I think as far as the roads, I really want to experience, I've never been, that's my bucket item. And I think I want to experience Italy and famous drives there. I've done Alps in Switzerland this year, like 2 weeks ago. Loved it. Phenomenal roads, even like, you're driving in the middle of nowhere, somewhere in the sky, in the mountain, where, the distance between houses is just enough for your car to pass by. And the pavement is perfect. It was fun. It was beautiful. Mountains, snow, things phenomenal. So I want to experience Italy. And if we go to US, definitely your neck of the woods. Love the Highway 1. I've done a few portions, few times. I go to Car Week and I usually try to, have a fun car. Last year, I rented a Boxster. I rented a Porsche convertible, which I enjoyed, driving the 17th mile, going down the, what is it, like, hold on, blue. Gosh, what is it? Yeah, I'm under a car, but what's that famous, like place where people usually go? It's, you have the Pacific Ocean next to you, you have the mountains, you have, for US, historic bridges, you kind of go, it's beautiful scenery, phenomenal. So I like, areas, Arizona, Sedona area, to drive there with open top. Yes, all my cars should be open top. This is my quote. If my ass is on the ground, I should not have a roof. But any convertible, honestly, I'll take any convertible.
And what's your favorite car week? Like what's the favorite I mean, there's Cars and Coffee, there's Caffeine and Octane, there's Gold Rush Rally. Fast Lane Drive is I know the owner there. Shout out to them. There's actually quite a lot of women in that car club. You should look it up. And
so many shows. Oh my gosh, like things like car shows started like breeding like a disease after 2020 because everybody realized, you know, we can have parties outside and car shows just like everywhere. Like I used to be able to go to many, and I was like, I can't keep up. I don't know what's happening. So as far as car shows, I think again, like a lot of times people go just to, you know, to hang out with each other or to look at cars. So for me, there are certain things that, you know, I've seen it, so I've done it. So I'm more interested in maybe hanging out with friends or meeting someone new, or just building new relationships. So I like that. But I do like, and what I really care, since I'm into supercars, I really believe in the proper venue. I like luxurious feeling of the venue where supercars are displayed. If the car is sitting, you know, if a supercar is sitting in the dirt, in a cheap environment, it kind of degrades the car. So I'm very picky, and that's what I said, like this year, I'm very picky as far as where I go, what I do. So I like to pick those, you know, like very interesting places and see how it's done. So definitely anything with the golf course, like beautiful, you know, like Ritz-Carlton, Quail environment, you know. That's something, yes, I like it because it screams rich. I mean, it's not, you know, it's not the money element, it's the aesthetics. That's what I like about cars. I like the aesthetics, the way the cars are displayed, they portrayed, you know, the accommodation. So yes, I mean, if you're at a car show, you should not have those, you know, like blue tents and things.
That's one thing about like the SEMA car show I didn't like. It was too overcrowded, too overpopulated. Nice cars there. There's souped up Ferraris and this and that, and but it's not a precision. And I think Monterey Car Week is, I would say, one of the
yeah, I mean, Monterey tops it, and I think that's the, you know, that's the benchmark. If you're a car person, if you're not a car person, it doesn't really matter as much. I mean, it's still a great experience, and I encourage everyone at least once to try go and see, because this is literally the museum under the open sky, and there are a lot of events in Monterey that you don't have to pay. You can attend and see cars easily and kind of enjoy the vibe. But for car people, it's like, you know, before Jesus Christ and after Jesus Christ, before car week and after car week, your life changes. It's never the same. The things you see there, things you experience there, you can never go back. You can never fix it, because the amount of things that just, every time I come back from, well, I came back like twice, but still, every time I come back from car week, I was like, I don't know how to get back to real life after this. You know, phenomenal cars. You'll see one-offs like tucked in on the side of the road here, there. It's phenomenal. The parking lot for the show itself is a car show.
It is. And the restaurants, everyone drives their cars to those restaurants on a couple of those streets, I know. And even if you don't get in to the car week, to the Rolls-Royce booth, the Bentleys, the Ferraris, whatever, you could go to those restaurant row and you'll see some of the coolest cars.
Oh yeah, and that's where kids are, you know, that's where the fun happens. I'm pretty sure they're gonna do something to it. They're gonna ruin it.
Well, I hope not, but it's more fun having.
But I mean, it's just like for safety reasons as well. But I mean, it's a big attraction. It's a big, you know, it's a phenomenal. So yeah, so I like aesthetics. I like aesthetics of car shows. There are still few on my bucket item that I haven't visited yet in US. I'm kind of, you know, like putting them, because you can't have it all. You know, there's always, almost every weekend something is happening somewhere. And yes, if I was like filthy rich and I could just like travel and, you know, experience things, that's probably what I would do. But no, I mean, reality of life is slightly different.
You have to pick your shows like the rest of us. So aside from car passions, is there any other passion you want to share with us before we conclude? And we appreciate you sharing everything.
You know, because I've been kind of plugged into the car world. So I think one of other passions, which I try to interfere with my car world, car love, is I love helping people. I love kind of creating experiences for them. And when I still was a kid, I always felt very blessed. And I always wanted, I don't know why, I always wanted to work with, like foster kids or orphans, because I felt like I was so blessed and there's so much things that I wanted to give, to experience. And a lot of times, we don't know what we don't know. And so I think kind of giving back or running charity activations is one of my other passions. So here in Atlanta, I try to engage local car clubs as well. I'm engaged supporting a few foster homes, kids. Right now, I'm actually in working on organizing egg hunt and brunch for one of the foster homes. So it's usually a combination. We try to bring cars, we try to have, game. It's always important to get people, engaged, drivers with the kids, boys also talking to drivers, because a lot of times they're missing that, like that kind of influence, that example. We do some supercar drives for the kids as well. A lot of them, it's going to be unfortunately going through unfortunate events in their lives, whether it's, sickness or, well, mainly it's sickness, yes. And I mean, it's very fulfilling. It's very sad when, like we have a separate group for those things. And it's very sad that a lot of times, you open the group and there is a message that unfortunately, like we lost that kid. Or remember the kid we did a drive like last year. I mean, he's gone. So that's very unfortunate. But we also have great stories. Like one story I always share it with anyone. And that, I think it's the reason I say, like, you never know what's going to spark someone's brain or light, or something is going to change someone's life. We had this drive to one of the homes, wishing kids happy birthday. And I remember it was like very affluent neighborhood, like with expensive houses. And one of my car guys in the kind of, like average Porsche, he asked me, like, Veronica, why are we here? Like this kid doesn't look like, he's in need. Like I live in a smaller house than this one. And it kind of, I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, you know what? A lot of times we can reach kids who actually have, driveway, they have, place to get to that kid. And we're not necessarily always going to those like truly in need. But what changed my perspective of things, that a lot of times you don't know who's going through what. Did the drive, and okay, I'm gonna start crying now. So we did the drive, and later, a lot of times, parents would reach out to us or send a note, thank you, like pictures or something. And the mother sends us a message saying, like, you have no idea what you've done. And we're like, okay, so we, keep reading, like, okay, what did we do? And apparently her teenage son, for whom we organized the drive, he was trying to commit suicide.
Oh my.
And I don't know what happened during the drive, like we literally, for us, we just like 4 seconds, vroom, 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 like gave like few toys out. And she said, like, I don't know what happened, but after the drive, he came to me and he said, Mom, I want to leave. Like I saw things differently. And of course, that moment when you realize, like, the size of your balance on your, on your account does not really reflect how you feel and what kind of help you might need. So right now, if, like, if I can change at least with those cars and with my passion, maybe if I can organize something and I can change at least, like, one person's life, listen, I feel like I already won one.
Yeah, you saved a life. That's incredible. And, that's the beauty. Young boys especially love cars. Girls do too, but it seems to be a good way for them to engage and communicate. And I've seen it. My brother-in-law is a big car guy, and it's kept them in the positive, out of trouble, going to these nice events, seeing what these successful people do. And not everyone's a nice person at these events, but a lot of the people do want to share their experiences in their cars. And
Absolutely. I've met, in my kind of rather short career of engagement, I've met phenomenal people.
And it's great that you're giving back to the community and helping children overcome something, which is incredible through this passion of cars. So Veronica, thank you. Thank you for coming on the Ideal Hour and sharing your experiences. And
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. This was fun. I really enjoyed it. I looked in the camera because then I realized maybe it was sideways.
no, you did great. Everything looked great. The painting looks great. And
I know, my legs.
the feet are wonderful.
I know.
And we'll link.
Hopefully, like next time, if we ever have, like the follow up, you'll see a nice. That's what I want. I want to have a nice like bookcase displaying books and things. I really like those, like big books and that I want to put behind me, and trophies and cars, maybe, and some paintings.
Or Monterey Car Week. We'll be there and we'll have a good time. All right. Veronica, thank you for coming on. We're going to link her info below. If you guys want to check it out, her Instagram profile is very entertaining and you could get in contact with her through there. Veronica, thank you for coming on the Ideal Hour. It was fun to chat about cars and your passion for them. I truly appreciate it.
Thanks, Simon. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.